Macaulay Culkin, the child who became the most famous face on earth before the world watched him legally emancipate himself just to survive his parents. Remember Amanda Bynes? Once the smiling heart of children's television until her collapse played out across the internet like public entertainment. Remember Judy Garland? MGM gave her fame at 16, but they also reportedly gave her pep pills to work and drowners to sleep until the pressure consumed her entire life fully. These aren't just Hollywood tragedies. They are the blueprint for the silent graveyard of stolen childhoods right here in our own country also. My people, look at the screens. We cheer for them on Dance India Dance. We cry with them in every soap operas. We plaster their innocent faces on every billboards. We talk about predatory producers. But what about the parents who trade their children bedtime for rehearsal schedules? For many of these children, the home stops being a sanctuary and becomes a small scale talent agency. The second puberty hits, industry discards them like a broken toy. As long as the child stays cute, profitable and controllable, the cameras keeps rolling. But the moment their voice changes or the face matures, the spotlight vanishes within a terrifying speed. And today it's not just about MGM, Bollywood, Hollywood. It's the Instagram parents who turn their toddlers into 15-second content machine for the algorithm. We are building a digital graveyard of stolen childhoods, one like at a time. People, one like at a time. We consume children for entertainment and then leave them to starve for identity in the dark. Imagine becoming national famous before even you know who you are, then losing everything before your brain fully develops. One day you are surrounded by makeup artists and screaming fans. The next day, silence, no scripts, no calls, no identity outside this character you played at 10 years. National award winners like Shweta Basu Prasad saw the heights of fame as children only to face a brutal struggle for survival once they grew up. Some spiral into addiction, some into depression, and then some spend their lives forever chasing the ghost of attention that once defined them. Today, we are just not looking at the fame, we are looking at the blood-stained contracts and the psychological trauma behind the curtains, from the rising stars who vanished into the shadows to the ones who choose the final exit rather than living in the silence. This is the brutal truth of shadow banished by people. How many more children are we willing to sacrifice for a 30-second viral clip? Are we celebrating their talent or are we just watching their slow distraction? Stay with me because the cameras are still rolling, but the children are disappearing. Have you ever seen a parent look at the perfectly healthy teen old and feel a sense of panic? Not because the child is sick, but because they are average. In the high pressure apartments of Delhi and Mumbai, childhood is no longer a stage of life, it's a biological race. We have reached a point where being average is treated like a terminal disease, and parents are turning to the clinic to fix what is not even broken in the first place. Pediatricians are sounding the alarming on rising trend growth hormone injections for healthy children. Families are increasingly pressuring doctors for HGH treatments, terrified that a shorter height will destroy their child's future in sports, corporate life, or marriage market. This isn't just a medical trend, it's a high stake transaction. Families are spending lakhs on injections, mortgaging their peace of mind for an extra inches of social capital. At the same time, girls as young as 7 or 8 are hitting puberty at record rate, pushed into biological acceleration by processed diets and screen heavy lifestyles. Their body is being fast forwarded before the mind is even ready to survive childhood itself in the first place. We have created a manufactured defect industry. Parents are being psychologically terrorized into thinking like their child's natural body is waiting to happen. They track IQ, optimize diets, they compare the child's height percentiles as if they were stock market results every month. We have replaced growing up with scaling up. We are treating childhood like a beta test for a version of the human being that hasn't been released even yet. The child slowly stops being a human being and just starts becoming a parental achievement project. We have handed 10-year-old forcing them to carry psychological burdens their brain aren't ready to process it. The terrifying question for the modern parents is no longer about is my child healthy? It has already become is my child outperforming everyone biologically, physically? My people, when are we going to see a child not for performance but for uh, their own needs and upgrade? What are we really building, a stronger generation or just generation that will never like they were enough to be loved as they were? Are we raising children or are we just engineering products for the world that refuses to let them grow up naturally? Once upon a time, children sang at the family functions just for fun. Today, they stand under the stadium lights while grown adults calculate their market values. For national entertainment in modern India, childhood talent is no longer nurtured. It's extracted, monetized, and emotionally weaponized. We have turned the stage into an emotional slaughterhood where an 8-year-old birth is measured by how well they can cry on a command for a cameras. Psychologists are calling it as we aren't watching talent shows anymore. We are watching reality show trauma instead. The tears aren't always organic. Behind the curtain, adults are poking at the child's deepest traumas, at diseased grandparents, a struggling father, just to get the perfect take for the promo. Producers have admitted that the child's actual skill is secondary. The real product is tragedy. Poverty, montages, staged breakdowns, and parents crying on the camera, all are edited for TRP spike ratings. We have created a system where children balance school and rehearsals with online trolling and adult level performance anxiety, all while carrying the financial burden expectations of their entire family. The child stops being a son or a daughter and becomes a family investment project. In many homes, the child becomes the primary breadwinner before they even learn to dive into the world. Imagine weight on 8-year-old shoulders, knowing their elimination means their families return to poverty, to zero. When a child's value rises and falls with weekly scores, they internalize the terrifying lesson that the love is conditional. They start to believe that they are only worthy of affection when people are clapping, and when the cameras leave, the silence is deafening. They return to the normal life carrying social pressure and identity confusion, feeling invisible because the nation moved on to the next cute trend because they even hit their puberty. We built giant stages and calls it opportunity. But between the elimination rounds, we accidentally created a mission that feeds on childhood itself. These children doesn't live with anything. They just live with the addiction of being seen and then paralyzing fear of failure. My people, when we treat a child's emotional stability for a 30-minute entertainment slot, who is really winning, the child with the trophy or the mission that sold their tears for a profit? Have you ever heard a 10-year-old worry about an electricity bill, or a child who knows exactly how much their next audition is worth to their own parents? We once prayed for our children to live a better life than us. Today, in the apartments of urban India, some families are turning their children into financial survival plans. Childhood is being converted into a business model where the child's face and child's fame no longer is a family pride but the primary source of family's income. What does that? It's a chilling phenomena, and the name is ATM Child. Across reality shows and social medias, we see parents leaving their jobs to manage their children's full time. These kids are working adult level schedules, overnight shoots, rehearsals, endorsements, while carrying the mortgages on their small soldiers. So, multiple former child stars have revealed that while they were called special by the world, their earnings were being depleted or mismanaged at their own home. In other countries, there are laws to keep the child's money safe for their future. In our country, our child's sweat often goes into joint account they'll never ever see, spent by the adults in their lives before they are even old enough to understand what they earned and where they lost. The person the family was supposed to protect became the one protecting the family financially. The pressure changes. It's no longer do your best. It's like don't lose what you have built for us. When the applause became a rent payment, failure stops feeling like a mistake. It starts feeling like a betrayal. These children grow up under constant pressure, surveillance, where every laugh and every tear is monetized for the family's vlog. They internalize a devastating belief that they must constantly perform to deserve the love that they receive. Love isn't just right anymore, it's a transaction for them. The most terrifying child labor no longer happens in factories. It just happens in studios, lights, cameras behind smiling Instagram posts. These children aren't just carrying their school bags, they are carrying the social status of an entire household. My people, when we turn that innocence into income, childhood into an investment, what are we really raising? A son or a CEO? A daughter or a safety net for yourself? We aren't raising children, we are raising pension plans with pulse rates. We are harvesting their present to be our future that the child will be too exhausted to ever enjoy. If the child stops performing and the love just disappears, who was really being loved in the first place? Imagine being a 9-year old and hearing thousands of strangers scream your name. Imagine growing up with a makeup artist, viral attention, and the world telling you that you are special every single day. Most teenagers spend their youth trying to discover who they are. Child star spends they are trying to recreate an applause they received before their brains were even fully formed in the first place. They aren't living their own life. They are living the second hand memory of a child who no longer exists. They are ghosts haunting their own history. Where we aren't just creating famous children, we are creating human beings psychologically addicted to being seen in the first place. Psychologists are just calling it as validation addiction. Early fame exposure creates emotional highs that the adult nervous system may never naturally reproduce again. When the algorithm shifts or your younger child becomes trendier, the godlike attention disappears without warning. Several former young creators describe this transition not as a career change but as a psychological collapse, a death. They describe feeling of emptiness irrelevance, because the applause didn't just entertain them, it rewired what normal life feel like. To them, clap is normal. The tragedy is in fame itself. It's teaching child that an ordinary life is emotional failure. Who said that? The same parent, while their friends were learning to handle the rejection on another path, on a playground, these children are being shielded by a cocoon of fake S-men. Now the playground is fully gone, the S-men have vanished, and the world is finally saying no to them for the first time. The child stops asking, "Am I happy?" and starts asking, "Am I still relevant?" We are introducing them to an emotional drug before teaching them how to survive sobriety. Once your identity is built completely on applause, when you become invisible, you're unbearable. They spend their adulthood obsessively chasing comeback opportunities, viral moments, terrified of silence that feels like a death sentence. The cruelest part of the childhood fame is what happens after the camera stopped rolling. We gave these children the world before they could even handle a classroom. My people, when a human being mistakes attention for love and fame for emotional oxygen, who is responsible for the crash? The audience that moved on, or the system that fed them a high they were never prepared to lose? If they aren't famous anymore, are they still allowed to be happy? Or did we just take that away from? Consider the reality of turning 18 in an industry where childhood fame is already slipping away. Suddenly, professional interactions shifts. Auditions become increasingly opaque and the path forward feels tied to unspoken conditions. In this room, the power isn't equal. On one side, you have a gatekeeper with a contract. On the other side, you have an 18-year-old whose entire identity is tied to the spotlight alone, is currently fading. That isn't a professional death, a professional meeting. It's a hostage negotiation for the career. This is not just about actors looking for work. It's about individuals facing a crisis of identity, being pressured at the most vulnerable professional moment of their life. Reports on industry ethics have highlighted that it's difficult reality that entertainment business, often creates a professional desperation. Performers transitioning from childhood roles or frequently targets for exploitations, having been conditioned to seek approval from gatekeepers. They may find themselves pushed into the manipulative mentorships under the guise of saving their careers. Professional insecurity is often used as leverage, turning the need for career or spotlight longevity into a tool for controlling them. The pressure to remain relevant has moved from private meetings to public platforms in today's world. Performers often feel forced to adopt extreme performance personas just to stay visible to algorithms and casting directors. This isn't just a natural transition anymore into an adulthood. It's a forced rebranding for professional survival where you're constantly exposed. Industry doesn't love the artist. It loves the utility of the artist. Once the utility of the youth is gone, the industry doesn't offer a ladder. It just offers a trade, your boundaries for your relevance if you want to stay relevant. The industry often rewards compliance and visibility before teaching young people how to set professional boundaries. One of the most difficult realities for child performance is discovering that the industry's interest is often fleeting. Exploitative systems don't always harmful at first. Sometimes they look like a second chance. Finally, when an individual is raised to believe that professional validation is the only measure of their own worth, they become vulnerable to those who promise to maintain that spotlight. When the system profits from keeping performance emotionally and professionally tied to them, dependent, the human cost must be questioned, right? Are we witnessing the growth of an artist or a calculated commodification of a person. The cameras continue to roll, but the protection of those who are friend is often missing. It's time to ask who are truly being served. The adult is complete. We have seen the biological fast forward, TRP, the slaughterhouse, and the ATM child. We are no longer raising a normal child. We are harvesting them. We have traded the sanctuary of the home for the utility of the brand. My people, when we finally finish engineering the perfect product, will there be any humanity left to love, or are we just building the future? But childhood is the price of admission. It is time to ask whose interests are truly being served.